The Zorketh Dominion, one of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy, has been keeping an eye on Earth for a long time. From their towering citadels, deep in the void of space, their fleets patrol the stars, observing all lesser civilizations. Their superior technology and unmatched war power made them believe that no one could stand in their way. When it came to humans, they saw nothing but primitive, fragile creatures clinging to their tiny planet. They had studied Earth from afar, mocking its outdated weapons and technologies, and assumed that no force on Earth could possibly challenge their dominance. The Zorketh High Command, sitting in the heart of their grand fortress, discussed their plans with an air of arrogance. The humans, they believed, had no more weapons than their primitive warships and old-fashioned tactics. The idea of a large-scale attack on Earth was laughable to them. In fact, the Dominion had long decided that Earth was nothing more than a passing curiosity, nothing worth the trouble. But what the Zorketh did not know was that humans were far more advanced than they realized, and that Earth had been preparing for this day for years. Unknown to the alien empire, a covert operation was underway. Earth's military had, over the years, developed an intricate system of monitoring and counterintelligence. Led by a highly advanced AI unit named Sentinel, the human resistance had been quietly tracking Zorketh movements. They had infiltrated the Dominion's communication networks, learning their tactics, their weaknesses, and most importantly, their plans. As the Zorketh fleet moved closer to Earth's outer colonies, ready to begin their assault, they never noticed that they were already being watched. Their fleet was equipped with state-of-the-art stealth technology and drones, capable of making them nearly invisible to any conventional detection methods. But the humans, with their superior AI and newly developed cloaking devices, were able to see through these defenses. The AI had been monitoring the Zorketh for years, learning everything about their tactics and even their weaknesses. It was in the dead of night, on the farthest reaches of the solar system, that Sentinel made its first move. The Zorketh were preparing to strike, their massive warships hidden in the shadows of distant planets, when a soft ping echoed across the universe. A signal, almost imperceptible to anyone but the most advanced systems, was sent from a hidden human base. It was a simple message, but one that would change everything. The enemy is already here. We can't let them strike first. The message reached Earth's military in an instant. The world's top commanders scrambled into action. It was no longer a question of if the Zorketh would attack. It was a matter of when. The humans were prepared, but no one outside the military knew the extent of their readiness. The world had long thought of humanity as weak, technologically inferior, but no one had ever imagined what the humans had been hiding in the shadows. In a matter of moments, the human forces were mobilized. Warships, cloaked in near-perfect invisibility, launched into space, their sleek bodies slipping through the vacuum like shadows. The Zorketh, who thought they had total control of the situation, had no idea what was about to hit them. As they moved closer to Earth, they were still confident, sure that nothing could stand in their way. They couldn't fathom that the humans were prepared for this moment. The first strike came without warning. A small, cloaked human warship appeared out of nowhere, targeting the Zorketh reconnaissance fleet. They were caught completely off guard. For a moment, the Zorketh thought it was a mistake, maybe a rogue signal or malfunction. But then, the human warship fired. The blast was quick and devastating. Quantum energy weapons, beyond anything the Zorketh had ever seen, struck with pinpoint accuracy. The Zorketh fleet, which had been sent to scout and intimidate, was obliterated in a matter of moments. Ships disintegrated in fiery explosions, their technology shattered in a flash. The Zorketh leader, sitting in his command room, watched in disbelief as one of his warships, cloaked and undetected, tore through his fleet with deadly precision. Their entire reconnaissance mission, which they thought was foolproof, had been decimated in seconds. What just happened? The leader murmured, staring in horror at the data streaming across his screen. This was no accident. The humans had struck first, and they had done so with a force that the Zorketh could never have predicted. The shockwaves from the destroyed fleet reached all the way back to the Zorketh homeworld, throwing the entire empire into chaos. The Zorketh High Command scrambled to figure out what had happened, their confidence shaken for the first time in centuries. How had the humans managed to pull off such a devastating blow? Meanwhile, back on Earth, the human military leaders were already preparing for the next phase. They knew the Zorketh wouldn't back down easily. They never did. But humanity had made its first statement loud and clear: do not underestimate us. As the humans prepared to launch their full-scale counteroffensive, they knew they had the element of surprise on their side. But they also knew that the Zorketh would be coming for them, faster and with greater force. Earth had only just begun its fight for survival. The Zorketh had miscalculated. They thought Earth was a weak, backward planet. They thought they could crush it without even breaking a sweat. But now they faced a powerful and unseen enemy, one that had been waiting, watching, and preparing for this very moment. And now, the humans would show them that they were far from the underdogs they had once believed them to be. The opening salvo had been fired. The Zorketh had been warned. But the battle was just beginning. The Zorketh Dominion, having lost a vital part of their reconnaissance fleet, is seething with rage. The shock of the unexpected human strike has sent ripples of disbelief across their entire empire. For the first time in centuries, the Zorketh realize that they might have underestimated an enemy they thought of as insignificant. Their pride, their invincible arrogance, has been shattered. The leaders of the Dominion are scrambling, desperate to respond and reclaim their power. In the cold, sterile halls of their war council, the Zorketh High Command gathers, furious at the audacity of the human retaliation. Their most elite commanders are now ordered to assemble a retaliatory force large enough to crush Earth. The message is clear: Earth must be destroyed before it can become a true threat. While the Zorketh prepare their counteroffensive, Earth is far from defenseless. The world's military leaders, under the guidance of the mysterious AI unit, Sentinel, are not merely scrambling to defend themselves. They are planning an offense. The human response is far more than just a reaction. It's an awakening. Humans have been silently preparing for this very moment for years, and now they are ready to unleash everything they've kept hidden from the rest of the universe. The most shocking revelation is the secret weapons humans have developed. Over the past decade, Earth's leading scientists and military commanders have worked in secrecy, crafting advanced technologies that far exceed what the Zorketh could have imagined. Cloaking devices, AI-controlled fleets, bio-enhanced soldiers, and even weapons that bend the laws of physics. These are the things the Zorketh never saw coming. These advancements, once dismissed as impossible or even absurd, are now Earth's strongest assets. Colonel Bonner, a seasoned officer with years of experience in the field, has been chosen to lead the most critical mission in human history. Bonner is no ordinary soldier. He is the embodiment of everything the human military has become in the wake of the Zorketh threat. He's a tall, muscular man, his features sharp with determination. But it's not just his physical strength that makes him a leader. It's his ability to inspire and push beyond the limits of what is thought possible. Bonner is briefed by a team of the best minds Earth has to offer, all working with Sentinel to orchestrate the perfect strike. The Zorketh don't know it yet, says Bonner, his voice firm as he looks at the map of the galaxy. But they're about to find out what it means to mess with humanity. The Zorketh may have the numbers, but the humans have something far more dangerous: the element of surprise and a secret arsenal that will turn the tide of war in their favor. The mission is clear: infiltrate the Zorketh's vast armada, deploy the hidden weapons, and strike hard before they can retaliate. As Bonner leads his team of elite soldiers, they board one of Earth's most advanced warships, a vessel equipped with the latest cloaking technology. The ship, known as the Shadow Strike, is a masterpiece of human ingenuity. It can move through space unseen, slipping past enemy detection with ease. Its hull is made from an experimental material that bends light and energy, rendering it invisible to the Zorketh's advanced scanning systems. The crew aboard the Shadow Strike is a mix of soldiers, engineers, and AI specialists, all united by one goal: to launch an unprecedented attack against the Zorketh. As the ship leaves Earth's atmosphere, the tension is palpable. Bonner stands at the helm, his eyes fixed on the stars ahead, knowing that the fate of Earth lies in the success of this mission. Outside, the Zorketh armada waits, vast and imposing. Hundreds of ships, massive war vessels capable of annihilating entire planets, hover in the dark void of space. They are grouped together in a formation, a wall of alien metal ready to crush anything that stands in its way. The fleet is composed of everything the Zorketh can throw at humanity: dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, all weapons of mass destruction. But the humans are already on the move. Using their cloaking technology, the Shadow Strike slips through the armada undetected, its engines humming softly as it glides silently through space. The Zorketh ships, though vast and intimidating, are no match for the precision and stealth of the human vessel. The Shadow Strike moves like a ghost in the night, unseen by even the most advanced alien sensors. As they approach the target, Bonner and his team are ready. The mission is simple: destroy the Zorketh's most critical base on the edge of their empire. This base, built on a barren planet, houses the Dominion's command center and houses many of their military strategies. If it falls, it will cripple the entire Zorketh war effort. It's a calculated risk, but the humans have no choice. They must hit hard and fast before the Zorketh can react. With the base in sight, Bonner gives the order. The crew activates the quantum bombardment system, a weapon unlike anything the Zorketh have ever encountered. The system uses advanced energy manipulation, tapping into the very fabric of space-time to create devastating blasts of pure energy. As Bonner watches through the ship's command console, he can see the planet ahead. Its surface scarred with ancient wars, now about to be shattered by a new kind of weapon. The ship's cloaking field flickers for a moment as it locks on its target. Bonner takes a deep breath. Then, without hesitation, he gives the command to fire. The bombardment is unleashed, and the effects are immediate. Bright streaks of energy tear through space, hitting the alien base with the force of 1,000 suns. The base's shields, no matter how advanced, cannot withstand the human assault. Explosions rip through the structure as it begins to crumble, pieces of the base scattering in all directions. The Zorketh are taken completely by surprise. The Shadow Strike, still cloaked, watches from a safe distance as the enemy base is obliterated. It's a perfect strike. The Zorketh won't know what hit them. Back in the Zorketh command center, the leaders stare in horror at the data flooding in. The destruction of the base is just the beginning. Their once impenetrable war machine has been pierced, and they are reeling from the blow. The humans have proven that they are no longer the weak, defenseless species they once thought them to be. They have become something far more dangerous, a threat that must be stopped at all costs. As Bonner watches the destruction unfold on the monitor, he can't help but feel a small sense of triumph. But this is just the beginning. The Zorketh may have underestimated humanity, but now they will see what happens when you push a species to its breaking point. The first battle has been won, but the war is far from over. Bonner knows that the Zorketh will retaliate with everything they have. The fight for Earth has only just begun. The hidden arsenal is out, and the humans have proven they are not to be trifled with. The tension in the human fleet is palpable as the Zorketh approach Earth. The once quiet and peaceful blue planet now stands at the brink of war, and the soldiers aboard the human ships are preparing for the fight of their lives. Colonel Bonner stands on the bridge of the Shadow Strike, his face grim as he surveys the situation. The Zorketh fleet is massive, a seemingly unstoppable force that could wipe out humanity with a single blow. Yet, despite the odds stacked against them, Bonner feels something stirring within him, a sense of purpose, of determination. The human spirit has been tested before, and it has always risen to the challenge. This time will be no different. As Bonner looks around the bridge, he sees his team of soldiers preparing for what they all know is likely a suicide mission. Among them is Carter, a young recruit who, just weeks ago, was a fresh face eager to serve his country. Now, standing among hardened warriors, Carter feels a knot of fear in his stomach. His hands tremble as he checks his weapons, the weight of what is ahead pressing down on him. He's terrified, but he's also determined. This fight is for his home, his family, and the future of humanity. The thought of Earth being wiped out by the Zorkith fills him with a burning desire to fight. Carter's best friend, Lieutenant Jace, notices the anxiety on his face. Jace is a seasoned soldier, older and wiser than Carter, but he understands what his friend is feeling. The two have fought together in countless simulations and drills, but nothing could prepare them for what is coming. Jace walks over to Carter, clapping a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We may be outnumbered, Carter," Jace says softly, his voice steady despite the tension. "But we have something they don't: the will to survive." Carter looks up, meeting Jace's eyes. There's something in those words, something raw and powerful. The will to survive. It's not just a matter of strength or weapons, but the resilience of the human spirit. It's the one thing the Zorkith don't understand. They think they can crush Earth with their superior technology, but they don't realize that humans fight for more than just victory. They fight for what they love, what they cherish. That's what gives them an edge the Zorkith will never have. As the two soldiers exchange a look of silent understanding, the ship's alarms blare. The Zorkith fleet is almost within range, and the battle is about to begin. The crew on the bridge moves into position, taking their places at the various stations. Bonner stands at the command chair, his expression cold but resolute. His mind races with strategy, the plan that has been meticulously crafted over weeks now being put into action. The final showdown is near. The humans know this could very well be their last stand. The Zorkith fleet is overwhelming, its sheer size and power a terrifying sight. Hundreds of warships, each capable of decimating entire cities, are closing in on Earth. Bonner's team is vastly outnumbered, and yet they hold one thing that could tip the scales in their favor: the quantum warship. This newly developed warship, codenamed Phoenix, is the most advanced ship ever built by humanity. It is capable of disabling the Zorkith flagship with its quantum-based weapons, but it's a one-shot weapon. If the attack doesn't succeed, the ship will be destroyed, and Earth's fate will be sealed. The pressure on Bonner and his crew is immense, but they know they have no other choice. The Phoenix is their last hope. Bonner turns to his crew, his voice calm but filled with conviction. "This is it. We go in, strike the flagship with everything we've got, and hope we make it out alive. The fate of Earth depends on us." The crew responds with a unified, determined nod. They know what they're up against, but they also know what they're fighting for. The fear is still there, but it is tempered by something far stronger: hope. They are ready to face the impossible. As the Phoenix locks onto the Zorkith flagship, Bonner feels the weight of the moment. The entire human race is depending on this single strike. He takes a deep breath, steadying himself. The bridge is silent except for the hum of the ship's systems, each crew member in their assigned positions, focused on the mission ahead. Meanwhile, Carter and Jace are stationed near the weapons bay, preparing the final assault. Carter's hands are still shaking, but the thought of losing his home, of never seeing his family again, pushes him forward. He remembers Jace's words, the will to survive. He grips his weapon tightly, the feeling of responsibility heavy in his chest. "It's time," Jace says, his voice steady, though there's an underlying intensity. He doesn't need to say more. Carter nods, his fear replaced by a sense of purpose. Together, they will face the Zorkith and do whatever it takes to protect their world. The Phoenix fires its quantum weapon, a burst of energy so powerful that it momentarily lights up the entire solar system. The beam races toward the Zorkith flagship, and for a split second, it seems like everything will come to an end. The entire ship holds its breath as the beam hits the target, but the result is not immediate. The Zorka flagship's shields flicker, absorbing most of the energy, but the Phoenix's weapon continues to press forward, slowly breaking through. The tension is unbearable as the crew watches, helpless. For a moment, it feels like the Zorka flagship might just survive. But then, there's a crackle, a burst of energy, and the shields collapse. The flagship's central core begins to destabilize, and the massive ship starts to tremble, its power fading as the quantum weapon's energy ravages it. The Zorka flagship is no longer invincible. "We did it," Bonner says, his voice filled with disbelief. But there is no time to celebrate. The battle is far from over. The Zorkath will not go down quietly, and Earth's enemies will unleash their fury in retaliation. The humans may have dealt a devastating blow, but the price of victory has only just begun. Carter's heart pounds in his chest as he watches the destruction unfold. The will to survive, the drive to protect their home, has carried them this far. But now, they must face the consequences. There's no turning back. The battle for Earth has begun, and only one thing is certain: humanity will not go down without a fight. The final countdown had begun, and with it came a storm of chaos that would decide the fate of Earth. As the Zorkath warships entered Earth's orbit, their massive forms darkened the sky, casting an ominous shadow over the planet. The alien armada, an intimidating force of advanced technology, was ready to annihilate humanity. They had already underestimated Earth once, and they were about to learn the hard way that humans were not as weak as they seemed. The human fleet, prepared and waiting, launched a full-scale counterattack with a precision that took the Zorkath completely by surprise. Human warships, once thought to be no match for the Zorkath's overwhelming firepower, now seemed to move with a deadly elegance. The ships cloaked themselves, disappearing from the Zorkath's sensors as they slipped through the vast expanse of space. Each move was calculated, swift, and decisive. The humans had studied their enemies long enough to understand their tactics, and they were using this knowledge to outmaneuver them at every turn. As the Zorkath ships struggled to lock onto their targets, the humans unleashed their most advanced weapons: eye-controlled drones. These swarms of autonomous fighters zipped through the alien fleet with terrifying speed, weaving between the Zorkath warships and launching precise strikes at their weak points. The alien ships were fast, but not fast enough to avoid the relentless assault. The drones attacked in waves, disabling shields and punching through hulls with ruthless efficiency. Meanwhile, on the front lines, human fighter pilots engaged the enemy in close-quarters combat. The fighters, small and nimble compared to the Zorkath's enormous warships, darted in and out of enemy fire, dodging missiles and lasers with impossible agility. Their advanced cloaking devices made it almost impossible for the Zorkath to target them. With every hit, the human pilots fought back with everything they had. The human fleet was outnumbered, but they fought with a ferocity and precision that the Zorkath could not match. In the midst of the chaos, Colonel Bonner stood aboard the human flagship, his eyes locked on the battle unfolding on his tactical display. He had spent years preparing for this moment, and now the stakes had never been higher. The humans had managed to disrupt the Zorkath's initial assault, but Bonner knew this was just the beginning. The Zorkath would retaliate, and it would be brutal. As the human ships fired back with their high-powered energy cannons, the battle reached a fever pitch. A massive Zorkath destroyer, larger than anything the humans had ever encountered, unleashed a barrage of missiles that streaked across space like fiery comets. The missiles were fast, their destructive power almost unimaginable, but the human ships danced through the barrage with impossible agility, evading the alien assault. Bonner's heart raced as he watched his ships perform maneuvers that defied logic, dodging the incoming fire with split-second timing. But the humans were not only evading, they were striking back with a vengeance. The human warships fired their energy cannons, beams of raw power that cut through the Zorkath shields like a hot knife through butter. The alien warships trembled under the assault, their once impenetrable defenses buckling as human firepower tore into their hulls. Bonner could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins as the human fleet pushed forward, relentless and unstoppable. For the first time, the Zorketh were on the defensive. The battle raged on, and every second felt like an eternity. But then, just as Bonner was about to order the next wave of attacks, a sudden and unexpected message crackled over the comms. It was a distress signal from Carter's team on the ground. "Colonel Bonner, we're pinned down." Carter's voice came through, strained but clear. "We're surrounded. The Zorketh have us trapped. We need immediate reinforcements." Bonner's blood ran cold. Carter's team was on the surface of Earth, caught in the crossfire between the alien ground forces and the remaining Zorketh fleet. The Zorketh had anticipated a ground assault and had sent a large number of troops to secure Earth's surface. Now, Carter and his squad were facing overwhelming numbers, trapped with no way to escape. The pressure of the battle weighed heavily on Bonner's shoulders. He had known the risks, but the realization that his own men were in danger hit him harder than anything else. His heart pounded in his chest as he quickly scanned the tactical map. The Zorketh forces were closing in on Earth's surface, their advanced ground forces moving fast and decisively. The mission to take down the Zorketh mothership, their flagship, seemed impossible now. The Zorketh had outnumbered the humans before, but with Carter's team now in danger, the situation was critical. Bonner's mind raced as he formulated a plan. The only chance humanity had left was to hit the Zorketh mothership directly. The mothership was the heart of the Zorketh fleet, and if they could disable it, they might stand a chance of winning the war. But time was running out. If they didn't act soon, the Zorketh would completely wipe out Earth's defenses. "All ships, listen up," Bonner said, his voice steady despite the growing tension. "We need to take out that mothership now. We can't waste any more time. I'll lead the charge. Everyone else, continue the fight. We can't let the Zorketh regroup." The humans had no time to lose. Bonner's decision was final. The assault on the Zorketh mothership was their last hope, and he was willing to risk everything to make sure Earth survived. His crew knew what was at stake. They understood that this mission would either save their world or end it. With the final assault ordered, the human fleet surged forward, a wave of determined warriors charging straight into the heart of the Zorketh forces. Their energy weapons flared as they locked onto their target, preparing for one last, desperate attack. The Zorketh mothership loomed in the distance, its dark, menacing form a symbol of the alien threat that had come to Earth. The humans' desperation was matched only by their resolve. Bonner led the charge, his flagship cutting through the enemy lines with devastating force. The final countdown had begun, and the battle for Earth was about to reach its violent conclusion. The decision was gut-wrenching, but Bonner knew there was no other choice. The Zorketh mothership was the key to everything. It had to be destroyed. The fate of Earth rested on this one final assault. With no time to waste, Bonner gave the order for the humans to launch a full-scale attack on the mothership. There was no room for hesitation. If they failed, humanity would fall. The human fleet, battered but not broken, charged forward. Their ships, cloaked and hidden in the vastness of space, appeared out of nowhere as they surrounded the Zorketh mothership. The massive alien vessel loomed in front of them, its dark silhouette a constant reminder of the power it held over Earth's survival. Bonner's heart pounded as he watched his fleet position itself, preparing for the final strike. The human ships, cloaked in near invisibility, launched a devastating surprise assault. Their weapons, honed through years of planning and technological advancement, tore through the Zorketh mothership's defenses like paper. Energy cannons pulsed with deadly power, ripping through the alien shields and tearing into the ship's hull. For the first time, the mighty Zorketh fleet was on the defensive, their mothership trembling as human firepower shattered its once impenetrable barriers. The alien vessel groaned as if in protest, its towering presence faltering under the unrelenting assault. Bonner watched, his grip tight on the controls of his flagship. He knew this was their moment, the moment that would either bring victory or lead to their destruction. The humans had come so far, had fought so hard. But it wasn't just the technology or the strategies that made the difference. It was the determination to survive, to push through when everything seemed hopeless. Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, Carter's team fought with all their might. The ground battle was just as intense, though different in its own way. Carter's unit had been trapped, surrounded by the enemy. The Zorkith forces had poured in from all sides, overwhelming the human defenders with sheer numbers and firepower. But Carter and his men were no ordinary soldiers. They'd fought with everything they had, driven by the knowledge that their world, their families, and their homes depended on them. Carter's team fought valiantly, pushing forward inch by inch. Their courage, however, came at a heavy price. Each corner they turned, each building they defended, took its toll. The Zorkith seemed endless, but Carter refused to let fear take hold. The humans held their ground, refusing to back down even in the face of impossible odds. The battlefield was chaotic. Explosions rocked the ground, and gunfire echoed through the streets. Smoke filled the air, blocking the sun. The Zorkith pushed forward, relentless and ruthless, but the humans resisted, driven by a deep resolve. Bonner watched from space, knowing that every second counted. His mind was on Carter's team, on the men and women fighting below, just as fiercely as those in the sky. Then came the news that hit Bonner like a blow to the chest. A comms officer, his voice trembling, spoke the words that no leader ever wants to hear. "Colonel, we've just received word. Carter has been killed in action. He died defending his position. He gave everything." Bonner's heart skipped a beat. Carter, the young soldier with so much to live for, was gone. He had been one of the best, a symbol of humanity's will to survive. Losing him was a blow that no one could have prepared for. But it was also a moment that would ignite something deeper in the human forces. Carter's death would not be in vain. It couldn't be. Bonner's grip tightened on the control panel, his mind racing. "We keep going," he muttered to himself, his voice low but steady. For Carter, for all of them. The death of one soldier was a tragic loss, but it became a catalyst for the final push, the rallying cry that would unite every human, every soldier, every fighter who was standing against the Zorkith. The attack on the mothership intensified. Bonner knew they couldn't stop now. The Zorkith were reeling, their mothership battered and broken, but still alive. The final moments of the battle were the most dangerous. Every human ship was at risk, every drone vulnerable to the overwhelming might of the Zorkith forces. But they pressed on. There was no retreat now. There was no turning back. The Zorkith mothership, already on the brink of destruction, fought back with everything it had. Alien ships scrambled to defend it, but the damage had been done. The human fleet, relentless in its assault, pushed forward one last time, firing with all their might. Bonner's flagship fired the final volley, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, with a deafening explosion, the Zorkith mothership erupted in a brilliant burst of flames and energy. The shockwave rippled through space, causing the surrounding Zorkith ships to scatter in panic. The mothership's destruction sent a massive shockwave across the battlefield, and in that moment, the tide of the war turned forever. Earth had won. On the surface, Carter's team had already given everything, and their sacrifice would never be forgotten. The soldiers who had fought beside him were left to carry on his legacy. Despite the heavy losses, the victory was undeniable. The Zorkith fleet, disoriented and broken, had no choice but to retreat, their once mighty ships crumbling as they fled the battlefield. Earth had won the day. The human forces, standing amidst the rubble, cheered. It was a sound of triumph and grief, for they had won, but at a great cost. Bonner stood at the helm of his ship, staring out into space, watching as the last of the Zorkith ships disappeared into the void. His victory, however hard-earned, was a moment of pure triumph for humanity. They had faced the impossible, and they had won. As the remnants of the Zorketh fleet disintegrated in a burst of flames, Bonner's mind turned to the fallen soldiers. Carter's death had been a bitter blow, but his sacrifice had been the spark that ignited the human resolve to win. The victory was bittersweet, but it was a victory nonetheless. Earth had broken the chains of oppression. The Zorketh had underestimated humanity, and they had paid the price. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. As the humans celebrated their hard-earned victory, Bonner knew this was only the beginning. The Zorketh might have been defeated, but there were other threats in the galaxy, and humanity would be ready. They had proven their strength, their will to survive, and their ability to fight back. No longer would they be seen as weak. Earth was no longer a target. It was a force to be reckoned with. The final battle had been fought. Earth had broken free from the chains of the Zorketh. The victory was theirs. The aftermath of the battle left the universe in a state of stunned silence. The Zorketh Dominion, once a dominant force, retreated, their fleets broken and scattered across the stars. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. Earth's victory was undeniable, but the cost had been steep. The heavy toll of the war weighed on every human, and as the smoke of battle cleared, the realization of what they had achieved and what they had lost settled in. On Earth, the mood was mixed. The victory celebrations were short-lived, overshadowed by the heavy hearts of those who had lost friends, comrades, and family in the fight. Colonel Bonner stood aboard his flagship, looking out into the vastness of space, his mind full of the faces of the fallen, particularly Carter. Carter's death had been a personal blow, a reminder that even in victory, the cost of war was high. But Carter had died a hero, along with countless others who gave their lives for the survival of their planet. The human forces had sent a clear message. Never again would they be underestimated. The Zorketh Dominion, once seen as an unstoppable force, had been brought to its knees by the sheer willpower and determination of humanity. The galaxy now knew that Earth was not just another vulnerable world to conquer. The humans had proven themselves to be fierce, resourceful, and willing to fight to the very last breath to protect their home. But victory had its price. The streets of Earth were filled with mourning families, those who had lost loved ones in the battle. Heroes had fallen, and their sacrifice could never be fully repaid. Bonner knew that the families of the fallen would carry their grief forever, and no amount of victory could ever truly fill the void left by those lost in the fight. The death of soldiers like Carter hung heavily on his mind, and he knew the others felt the same. It wasn't just the victory they had won. It was the heavy burden of loss that they now carried with them. As the months passed, Earth began to rebuild. The war had left scars on the planet, both physical and emotional. Cities that had once been thriving were now piles of rubble, and the scars of battle were everywhere. But the human spirit was unbroken. The people of Earth had shown the universe that they could endure, that they could come back from the brink and fight for what was theirs. The Zorketh had learned that humanity was not to be trifled with, and the galaxy would soon realize that Earth was a force to be reckoned with. Bonner knew that this war was not the end. It was just the beginning. Other threats would rise, other battles would be fought. But now, humanity was prepared. The people of Earth had tasted victory, and they would never again be complacent. The Zorketh may have retreated, but Bonner knew there were other powerful forces out there, waiting to test humanity's resolve. But no matter what came next, humanity had proven they could stand tall, no matter the odds. The death of soldiers like Carter, the brave men and women who had sacrificed their lives for a better future, was not in vain. They had fought not just for survival, but for the future of every human in the galaxy. Earth had sent a message to the stars. Humanity would no longer be passive. The Zorketh had tried to break them, but instead they had forged a new strength in the hearts of every human. Bonner stood at the helm of his ship, gazing out at Earth. The planet he had fought for, the planet he had protected with everything he had. The war was over, but the journey ahead was just beginning. Humanity had shown its strength, its resilience, and its unyielding will to survive. Earth had won, but at a great cost, and as Bonner looked out into the stars, he knew that the fight was far from over. "We didn't just fight for survival," Bonner muttered to himself, his voice barely a whisper. "We fought for the future of every human in this galaxy. And we won." The words echoed in his mind, and for the first time in a long while, Bonner allowed himself to feel a small measure of peace. They had won. And though the losses were heavy, the victory was sweet. They had proven that no matter how dark the times, humanity would rise. No one would ever again underestimate Earth. The galaxy would know that humanity was a force that should never be crossed. As Earth's forces began to return to their lives, as cities began to rebuild, and as the memories of the war were passed down through generations, the legacy of that victory remained. Earth was no longer just a small, vulnerable planet in the far reaches of space. It was a powerful force, a beacon of hope and strength in the galaxy. The universe had witnessed humanity's fight, and it had seen the price they were willing to pay for their survival. In the end, the message was clear. Earth had fought not just for survival, but for the future. A future that would never again be taken for granted. A future that would stand as a testament to the strength and will of every human who had ever lived. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from finished. And as long as there were humans willing to fight, the stars would know one thing: Earth would never back down. The victory had been won, but the story of humanity's rise had only just begun.